IVM.
Hey, Raghavi, have you ever had any hobby that you seriously committed to?
No,
For
never.
a long time?
No.
No?
Oh, I mean, the self-hatred count.
Oh, no. Well,
That.
I'm glad to tell you, you have now had a hobby for a year.
Oh, oh my God, congratulations. It's been 1 year since
been
this
1 year.
podcast released.
I know, this is amazing. Let's virtually hug each other.
There.
Whee!
Just touching fingertips. Not even that.
But yeah, this is exciting for us because this is our first anniversary look back, and
Yes.
we have some exciting things coming up at the end of the episode. But for now, shall we listen to the theme song?
Let's do it.
Have you ever wondered why women don't do more crime?
Well, we're here to tell you there's misconduct all the time.
Women are thieves and murderers.
That's gross misconduct.
Con artists, money launderers.
Criminal misconduct.
Financial fraud that's hard to track.
Takes some planning, but still misconduct.
Even breaching a contract.
That's more civil though.
It's misconduct. It's misconduct. We tell you all about women that suck. Things that make you say, what the? It's misconduct.
Hello, 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 and welcome to Misconduct. Today, we're not doing just one female criminal on this podcast. We are doing multiple because
It's the look back episode. And it's for season 2. You guys already know all the names. If you don't know the details, please go back and listen to it. But don't worry, we'll give you a small brief. But we're using this episode to maybe share a couple of updates, do some shout outs. And we also have a special surprise right at the end.
yes. And also, we have a guest for this episode. It is our producer, Vagdha. Say hi, Vagdha.
Hello, guys. First of all, congratulations on your anniversary. I
And to
super
you
happy that I
too,
was-
obviously.
Thank you. So, yeah, I'm super excited for this episode today, and let's begin.
Yes, let's do it. Actually, Vagdha has been our producer since basically all of season 2 and now season 3 as well. We hope she sticks with us forever. This is just a very gentle subliminal messaging to IVM. Please don't kick her off the show. We love her. But how do you feel about this show, Vagdha, now that it's been a season and some since you've been working with us?
So, honestly, this is one of my first shows that I handled when I started off as a podcast
Hey.
producer. So, and upon that, it was a crime show, and I was super thrilled, to start off. And I was there throughout season 2 and throughout, I will be there throughout season 3
That
as
you
well,
are.
and more to come.
Yep.
So yeah, and I feel like most of the true crime podcasts that we have in India are super serious, but this goes on a humor level. So I think that is what makes this podcast very special. So
Yay.
You say that, but my mom hates that part of it. Just a couple of days ago, we were just talking and she was just I was just giggling about, it was something serious, and then I was just giggling about something just to change the mood. And my mom was just like, this is not your true crime podcast. You can't say something super serious and then just do Kikipike. I was like, oh, yikes.
But that's
the word
our
Kikipike.
brand.
It's true, it is.
But glad to know that. I love how IVM thought, oh, there's this new sweet little producer. Let's throw her into the most ridiculous, horrible podcast ever. But
I think Vagdha's held her own, solidly. So yeah,
yes.
that's true.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
So just before we get started on the episode, this is still a true crime podcast. We are
Yes.
still going to talk about a lot of things that are disturbing. Listener discretion is advised. Children are a big no-no.
No,
Please. Parents, make
Not
sure
in
they're listening
general.
to us.
Have children. We need to contribute to our social security system. However, don't listen to this podcast now. Wait till you're 18. Oh, also, I want to do a quick shout out. We have a friend, Edwin.
Yeah.
Who he is a fan of the podcast, and he specifically mentioned to me, hey, I'm a fan, but I don't want to be called, Miss Condu.
Yes, thank you, Edwin.
Yeah, but then I was like, then what do you want us to call you guys? To which he said, how about Miss Conductor?
And then
Yeah.
Raghavi and I looked at each other like, why did we not think of this?
Yeah.
This is so obvious.
So evident.
Yes.
So I mean, you guys didn't ask for it. This is pretty much against your consent. But then, misconductors, you are. Go for it.
Also, a quick shout out to my friend Ruben, who has been helping me out with the music. A lot of the things, all of the songs that you guys hear, he's the one providing like the riffs and the chords and things like that. He basically looks at my noob level status of playing the ukulele and he says, I will change the chords. Don't worry. You play G, C, whatever you can only.
But you come a long way from not being able to play that one G chord.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Okay, guys, so I think it's time we should head towards the episode now.
Aha, yes. Vagdha being her Vagdha self. All right, so our first episode was Maria Susairaj. She was a Kannada model and actress who was alleged to have killed the TV executive Neeraj Grover in 2008 in her flat in the Malad area of Mumbai. Neeraj was stabbed multiple times and died in the flat the same night. It was alleged that she disposed of his body with some help from her fiancé/lover, Emile Jerome Matthew. So they did this by chopping up the body into several pieces, 300 according to the media. They took the body to the outskirts of the city and burnt it to a point that he could no longer be recognized. So the investigation and trial stretched for about 3 years. And in 2011, she was found guilty. But not for the murder, but for destroying evidence. So Maria spent about 3 years in jail and she was allowed to leave prison based on time already served. Emile was given about 10 years, but he had completed 3 as well. So he actually would have been out by 2018.
Right.
So guys, I remember the number 300 pieces, like it was so significant from the episode. And this was my first episode and literally got nightmare, you know?
Man,
You just pushed her off
Yeah.
the deep end with that one.
Yeah. I know. And that kind of was the point of the, media doing like 300 over and over again.
Yeah.
So glad to know it stuck with you and sorry about the nightmares, Vagdha.
No worries.
The thing is though, Maria sort of just, came out of all of this and decided that she wanted to be a scam artist. Which is, I mean, you know what? It's fine. Now, if you're committed to a life of crime, I get it. Just fine. Do it now. And the only thing is, she couldn't act anymore. That was the sad part of all of this. Because everywhere, her face was literally everywhere, right? And there's that one photo in particular where like it's just plastered all over the media. And that kind of, even if, sure, she was convicted for, the destruction of evidence, it is a crime. But once she probably serves her sentence, how we usually think that once you serve that sentence, you've done what you're supposed to do for society. And you should be allowed to reintegrate back, right? So, but that's not going to happen to her because this is going to follow her for the rest of her life. So on some level, we kind of sympathize with her.
Yeah.
It's not even her name that's really so much attached to this case anymore, because if you Google Maria Susairaj, sure, you will obviously find the case.
Yeah.
But you will get more information about it if you just look for Neeraj Grover murder case.
Yes.
Because, I mean, on some level, yes, it's good that it became more about the victim. It is, to a large extent, we tend to sensationalize a lot of this stuff and we don't focus on how bad it would have been for the victim and their families.
Yeah.
But her name really does not bring up as much information as opposed to Neeraj Grover himself. In fact, Neeraj Grover gets the Wikipedia page, not Maria Susairaj.
Yeah.
There's also an Outlook article that we read recently about, different people having different reactions about Maria and Emile being let go. Like we said, Maria was not charged for murder, but just for destruction of evidence. And no one else was in the room when it happened. So realistically, there's just some circumstantial evidence. There's Maria saying that she was coerced into a lot of this, including, like we mentioned, there were allegations of sexual assault as well. So we kind of have to go with the quote on this. It is very he said, she said, and this is the most we have about it.
So we do have a couple of quotes from a bunch of people reacting to Maria and Emile leaving jail, doing their time. So there we had Neeraj's friend Chetan Murada, who said, "This is not a case of temporary insanity. Maria called Neeraj over and then called Jerome. How do you let your fiancé into the house when you have another man sleeping in your bedroom? Would anyone do it unless something was planned? We will be appealing in the High Court." Then there was also Vibhav Krishna, who was a criminal lawyer for the family of Neeraj Grover, who said the way Maria coolly went to buy the knife used to hack Neeraj, and how, according to Maria's confession, they made love next to the corpse. It shows a certain criminality. And then one of Emil's friends believed that, this showed like premeditation and Maria's motive for arranging this motive. And he said she was annoyed and suspicious because she felt Neeraj was fooling her by not getting her an acting job despite sleeping with her. We have a lot of things to say about these statements, but we're just going to leave it out there for you guys to think about. I think the important takeaway from all of this is that this case might be coming up again because the family is appealing to the High Court.
Yeah, like Nisha said, there's not really much to say beyond this. It is a lot of he said, she said. Each side obviously has multiple ways to look at it. But I remember, like, I had taken the first cut at the script outline and I sent it to Nisha saying, hey, see how it looks. What do you think about how we are structuring this? And Nisha called me and she was just like, hey, I have a question. How is Maria both the accused and also the person investigating this case? I was like, Nisha, do you have a stroke? What's wrong with you? But it took me some time. I went back to the script and I was obviously like, oh no, I did it, right? What are you talking about? And I went back and looked at the script and I realized that I used Maria to refer to, of course, Maria Susairaj and also the Commissioner of Police in Mumbai, Rakesh Maria. So I don't know why I did that. I guess I afforded Rakesh Maria some respect with his surname and I just used Maria's first name. But that caused a lot of confusion. It took me quite a while to go back and edit all of those things.
It's kind of ironic, I guess, that, Maria, they were like, oh, this is also Maria.
Yeah, like even now I think about it, the news articles were so confusing to read because it's like Maria saying they'll catch the culprit. That makes no sense. But
it actually worked out really well for me because when I was writing the song, I could only think of like Maria Pitashe. And I was like, it makes sense because everyone is Maria. And I remember the time I was staying at your house and like losing my mind, like writing this song because it was so much fun.
Because it was just like, I could see the spark in her eyes. This one, I have a video of her just going like, aha! And then she just starts playing music.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So this was my first ever misconduct episode, guys. So yeah, with Nightmare, of course.
I know, again, so sorry. But you got to enjoy one of our better songs.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, season 1 songs were fine, but season 2, I was starting to get better. So.
Chef's Kiss.
I agree.
On the note of Chef's Kiss, the next person we have is Noor Inayat Khan. If you guys remember her, she was a British Asian stationed in France during the peak of the Second World War, which is where she served as an officer in the Special Operatives Executive, or the SOE. Now, Noor was an Indian from her father's side, and he had heavily influenced a lot of her ideals, including nonviolence and pacifism. Yet, for her country, she decided to go to war as a spy. Eventually, she was caught by the German forces. She was tortured for months before being executed. Noor was and still remains an icon of feminist history. There is a lot of backstory here. Was she good at being a spy or not? Let's be real here. It's a pretty stressful situation. Yeah. I don't want to say what's good and what's bad. People are constantly looking out for you and trying to kill you. So anything that you did is already a good thing. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people had asked us this. What is the crime here? Why is she being featured? Yeah. Espionage is illegal everywhere. Even literally today, you can see people consistently getting caught for this, including as recently as like Edward Snowden and stuff, right? Yeah. Like, I mean, essentially their issues were leaking state secrets, but it's very similar cases as well. So espionage is illegal everywhere. Please don't do it for the sake of your life.
So I remember when we were recording this episode, like I was like literally fangirling over Noor. And because I didn't realize that espionage was a crime, only with this episode, I was like, okay. But, like how her life was ended was personally very sad to me. It was very hard to take.
Yeah, it was. And I get that also, like not knowing that espionage is a crime, like listening, especially for a lot of people who were listening to the episode, they were like, but we all like Noor. Radhika Apte played her in a movie. Still a crime though.
Oh, but that's not the only movie.
That's true. She does have another movie. It's Noor Inayat Khan, The Forgotten Spy, which will apparently premiere at the 2022 Hollywood Fringe Festival.
Nice.
The exciting part of this is that it's created by and it's starring like an Indian Thai actress and writer called Almanya Narula. It's also a solo show and it's backed by an all-female South Asian production team. So which is kind of exciting.
Yeah, it kind of is.
So good for her. And there's also another good news for Noor, which is there is this new London Underground map, which kind of highlights all the women who have been significant to London's cultural history.
Right.
So, and all of those places are marked on the map, which are, corresponding to a place where they worked or where they lived or something like that.
Sweet.
So yeah, so along with Beatrix Potter and Sylvia Plath, we also have Noor Inayat Khan.
Damn, should we make a map like that?
For India?
Yeah, I mean, let's start small. Let's start with like Indiranagar in Bangalore. But maybe that would be pretty cool, right?
Actually.
Oh, damn. Okay, side project. Vagdha will talk to you later about it.
We should
Definitely.
we should make a map of all of the criminals that we've covered so far.
Sounds like a plan.
That we can do. Also, one of our listeners, Salim from Germany, he sent us a picture on Instagram of the memorial at the Dachau concentration camp. That memorial was actually dedicated to Noor Inayat Khan, and this is the camp where she eventually passed away. Also, Salim mentioned that his wife's name is Noor, and he had a really good time listening to this episode. It was a very incredibly sweet gesture. We love when people write to us like this. It just makes us feel like, man, we're engaging and it's lovely.
The next woman, which is kind of exciting for me, because we did Je ne dévaluerai sans Rémi.
Oh, this will never end.
So she was a French woman of questionable nobility. She forged the signature of Queen Marie Antoinette back in 1974. And she stole this whole huge, massive diamond necklace from a jeweler, all the while pretending to be the Queen's representative. Considering how easy it was to defraud the damn royal family of France, this whole scandal caused some like major disillusionment amongst the French people.
Right.
They were already like, losing faith in the monarchy. And then after this incident, they were just like, enough, get lost now.
Take him to the guillotine.
Yes. So it eventually led to the overthrow and the unfortunate execution of Queen Marie Antoinette along with her husband. So in many ways, you can say, je ne stole le necklace and sort of accidentally fueled the revolution.
Okay, if you guys remember, Nisha did a ridiculous French accent for this entire episode, including the song. In fact, I remember one of our friends who like texted me saying, dude, it was hilarious, but there were bits where I just didn't understand what Nisha was saying because her accent is kind of all over the place. So apparently the biggest concern was your French accent wasn't consistent. That was the issue.
Excuse me. Vagdha, the accent was fine, right?
It was fun. I enjoyed it.
Hey, listen, is she blackmailing you? Is something happening here? This is not acceptable. Although we did use this episode to introduce the word Kikipike.
That's true.
Yeah. It's a very Tamil word. It's a very colloquial Tamil word. And it really doesn't mean anything. It just means hey, 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 hey. And we just put it out there and suddenly people were like tagging us on Instagram, posting videos and whatever, like just stuff on Instagram and saying, yes, I understand Kikipike. Yeah. I was just like, this is exactly like the Adiga Prasangi moment. Where people were like relating to it. So,
two things that are like come to my mind here. One of our listeners, Amulya, she wrote to us saying there apparently is a Telugu equivalent and it's called Kitukitulu. Which I was like, oh my God, it's so cute.
It's so adorable.
That was one thing. And then one of our like listeners and friends, Ayan, he is like super North Indian, okay? He did not get the word Kikipike and he just kept saying Kikipipe, Pepe Kike or whatever, just some like random variant. Like you get the point.
Yeah, shout out to Ayan. He can't say Tamil, but he has finally learned how to say Kikipike. Also, this reminds me, a couple of months ago, I watched Ocean's 8, the fourth movie in the Ocean's franchise, which includes Sandra Bullock and a bunch of other amazing women. Spoiler alert, for 6-year-old movie or whatever. You should have watched it by now. Yeah, just spoiler alert for Nisha was clearly not seen this movie.
1 second. Vagdha, have you seen this movie?
No.
Aha! Spoiler alert for Vagdha also.
Fine. Okay, Vagdha, I'm spoiling it now. I'm just going to tell you. They basically steal a bunch of stuff from the Met Gala, including a bunch of jewelry, right? And one of those, when they, display all of it at the end, is exact like a replica of the necklace that we talked about in this episode. And I can tell you 100%, even that recreation is so goddamn ugly. It's so ugly, guys. I don't know why this necklace caused the downfall of the goddamn French Empire. I just don't get it.
I evidently remember how much Raghavi hated the necklace. And I can, whenever I see or hear the word ugly, I can only think of Raghavi now. Like, ugly Raghavi, ugly Raghavi.
Yeah, because you kept like throughout the episode, you were like, ugly.
Because it was. Oh my, I can't describe it. And a lot of people, when I posted about it on Instagram, agreed with me.
That's true.
Yeah, I mean like 6 people, but that's a big majority.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
I'm going to go with it.
Okay, but I agree with Raghavi on that. Necklace is ugly.
Fine.
I don't want to say expletives on this podcast because we'll get, bleeped. But you may suck it.
Fine. Speaking of engagement on Instagram, let's move on to Ceci Xavier. This was one of the fan-requested episodes. So Ceci Xavier is a woman who pretended to be a qualified and enrolled advocate with the Kerala State Bar Council. She practiced law for about good 2 years. She even went on to become the librarian of the State Bar Council.
Nice.
She represented loads of people in cases, even though she had no authority to do it.
Nope.
And no one suspected a thing. Until someone was like, who the hell? So eventually some digging up led to like her months-long con being revealed, and she obviously couldn't produce a single document to prove that she was a lawyer.
Yeah, so an FIR was listing like a bunch of things that, that she said and did. And Madam said, okay, fine, I will come to court. But she didn't know that these are all non-bailable offenses. So when she was at court, some sort of light bulb went off in her head and she was like, bye. And she just ran. Like she just ran from the courtroom. That was exactly reported as that. And in fact, she is still on the run. And if you have any information about Ceci Xavier, please contact the Alapura North Police Station. You can literally Google it. Their phone numbers are right there.
So, like I said, this was a fan-requested episode and we felt so happy to do it because people were just like, do it. And it was nice. So, so people are listening to us and they are actively looking for cases for us to cover, which is amazing.
That's true.
The only thing is that we had to wait to get information on her before we actually did it, which is the case for most of the stories that people shared with us.
That's
we
true.
promise you, we are listening. We will cover it. We just need more info.
Yep, that's right. And also, one of the reasons we ended up speeding up this episode was because of Natasha and Matthew, both friends of mine who are lawyers, and they sent me the affidavit that was filed by the Bar Association. Like, I mean, Matthew at least had the reason to say, hey, look, here it is. Did you need this? Natasha was like, here, I've given you the affidavit. Now do the episode. Which I thought was, we needed that kind of push, to be honest. So once we got that, we were just like, well, I guess let's do it. So Ceci continues to hold the distinction of one of our people you've covered that they still haven't found. So it is one of my favorite episodes of the season, purely because of that.
Yeah. And in fact, if you Google Ceci Xavier, our podcast comes up.
Yay.
So, which is amazing. It's good to know that we're like a authority on mid-level cons.
Wee!
Good to know our SEO is working,
Yes.
Thank God. Yeah.
Good job, Vagdha. Thank you for doing that. Amongst the many other things that Vagdha also does, there is one thing that Vagdha does for us, which is so sweet. So like I mentioned a couple of episodes back, IVM, the office, has boiled eggs just like there, like all the time. So every time I get hungry, I'm like, Vagdha, please give me an egg. And she's like, very happy to oblige. So thank you, Vagdha. On that note, let's take a break. Vagdha, go get me an egg.
Definitely.
So sad.
Running.
Namaste, this is Cyrus Rocha. I am part of the government cancel culture program to remove rubbish off all the different streams available. So what we have is all the collected rubbish we put together on our show. It's called Cyrus Says. It's on IVM Podcast. You have to watch it and listen to it. It's on our app. It's on our website. It's on the YouTube channel. It's on Facebook. There are many different ways. Don't bother me and ask me how. You have to find out. We talk to different personalities. Many of them are known. Some are just people we meet downstairs and invite them up for chai. But the point is, it's fun and it's very therapeutic. So please join in and listen to Cyrus Says.
Welcome back after the break. Thanks for the egg, Vagdha. We are now going to go on to our next episode, which is Santokh Ben Jadeja. So she was a Gujarati don in the 1980s. She actually got into the trade through her marriage. But when her husband was brutally murdered by a rival gang, she took up the mantle initially to avenge his death. But then very soon she realized their potential and she successfully ran one of the major crime families in Porbandar for most of the 1980s. And I think better than her husband. So I think the moral of the story is don't mess with ambitious women.
Oh yeah, speaking about ambitious, I mean, she started off basically with extortion, illicit liquor, gambling dens. But the real money was in land deals and mining. She also had a pretty long career as a politician after this through the 90s and early 2000s. Santokh Ben was feared across Porbandar, both for her criminal enterprise and also for how ruthless she was known to be. There are many, many stories from many sources that tell us Santokh Ben would not really think twice about killing a man who wronged her. And in Gujarat, she was known as Godmother.
Ooh, fun fact, Santokh Ben contributed pretty significantly to a major judicial decision over the rights of accused persons to not self-incriminate themselves. So she is the reason why anyone would need consent before narco-analyzing any accused. So the truth serum, you need to provide consent for that.
That's pretty cool though.
It is.
Like the fact that, accused deserve right.
Of course.
Rights, that's it.
But she made that happen.
Yep.
Also, fun fact too to you guys, this is one of the better performing episodes in the season. Yeah. And I guess people either love Shabana Azmi or badass woman who keeps inspiring maybe.
Yes, we support women's rights, but we support more women's wrongs.
Yes. But also speaking of Shabana Azmi, we did find an article in Outlook. So Santokh Ben was not very vocal, especially with journalists and stuff. That is a very smart move.
Yeah.
We did find this article which said that she did not appreciate that the movie was made about her life, starring Shabana Azmi specifically. And so the journalist who wrote that article said that the, Santokh Ben, unlike Shabana Azmi's character in the movie, hardly raises her voice. And she does not indulge in any sort of vices, including drinking, smoking, She doesn't dance with her, like her gang members and stuff. That's not something that she really does. And apparently she was so camera shy that it was kind of difficult to persuade her to even pose for a picture. Vagdha will know this difficulty because we could not find a decent enough picture even for our episode artwork. In fact, Santokh Ben in one of her very, very few limited interviews is quoted as saying, "I became an MLA without making public speeches or posing for the cameraman," which I agree. Good for her.
There's also another quote, that she says about the movie. She says, "I want the film to be banned. It is based on my life and portrays a bad picture of the Mahir community." It was also known that, Santokh Ben and a bunch of her supporters, they actually planned to engage the film's director, Vinay Shukla, in a series of court cases just so that he never gets out of this mess and the film never sees the light of the day, which is incredibly scary. Considering the power and the, amount of money that they had, I have no idea how they ended up releasing this movie.
It is possible that they negotiated with her as well eventually. We don't know how that stuff works. Usually it's all very confidential. But the the good thing to do, the ethical thing to do is often approach the person that you're making that movie about. Many good filmmakers do that because you also get to find out what they're like in real life. So that's very helpful. Also, fun fact, the place that, Santokh Ben primarily operated from was called the Kathiawar district, which you might recognize is the same place that Gangubai was likely born in and from. Yeah, Gangubai, which was, as you know, the first episode of season 3. Yeah. And also, from some small time, low budget movie.
Low budget Alia Bhatt movie.
Some new kid, I don't know.
Speaking of movies of characters that we have covered, we are moving on to the next episode, which was former Chief Minister Jayalalitha and her political aide Sasikala.
Yes.
So this was a massive two-parter that we did, partly in praise of the two women and partly about the disproportionate asset case that they were convicted of. It's hard to give a brief, so I just suggest you go and listen to both episodes.
Yeah.
There are no updates because the former Chief Minister is no longer with us. Although we did trash the movie Talevi because it sucked. But we did praise representation of Chief Minister Jayalalitha in Queen by what's her name?
Ramya Krishnan.
Ramya Krishnan.
Yeah,
Yes,
Ramya
that's the
Krishnan is a goddess. So, I mean, to be fair, she is also a much more seasoned actor.
Fair.
And she played the older version of, former chief minister. She didn't, I mean, they had different people playing different years instead of that one same face across the board. And I thought it was quite disrespectful that Kangana Ranaut was made to wear a fat suit just for the sake of it. I mean, I didn't particularly enjoy that aspect of it. Also, this particular episode, we recorded it twice.
Yeah.
It's not because, we were like unsure about what to say or something like that. The thing is, this particular topic is very close to home for us. Like, we grew up like sort of idolizing Jayalalitha in a certain way, right? She is, for us, one of those fiercely independent, extremely ambitious women. Yeah. And she made sure she got what she wanted. And for a lot of us, that is a very big deal. We don't see that in the public space. So we wanted to make sure that we got that right. In fact, a lot of the reporting that we would see would be very skewed towards one or the other side. Yeah. And we thought that was quite unfair. So we just wanted to make sure it was as balanced as it possibly could be. And that's really all you want to say about this episode. But please go listen to it if you haven't. We think we've covered that in a pretty balanced way overall.
Oh, one of our listeners, Disha, she was on the way to Chennai when she was listening to this episode on the train. And on the episode, we talk about how famous and influential the former Chief Minister, Dr. MGR is.
Yeah.
And that the Chennai Central Railway Station was renamed to Purachi Talevar Dr. M.G. Ramachandran's Central Railway Station in 2019. So when we were talking about this on the episode, Disha was there and she sent us a photo of the signboard that she saw with the whole name right as the train pulled into the station. Yeah. So we love engagement like this. We love that our, listeners, our misconductors take the effort to tell us about it.
That's true.
So, speaking of engagement, you guys also have got a comment on YouTube. Also, just a reminder for people who don't have an Apple ID to review our podcast, you can always go to YouTube channel Misconduct and you can always leave your comments, reviews. You can tell anything basically about the podcast.
Yes,
that's true.
Thank you. But what was the comment?
Oh, so the comment was one of the best podcast channel I've ever come across. So congratulations, guys.
Nice.
That is really sweet.
Thank you so much, random stranger who loves us.
But our entire audience is
random
strangers who love us, and we are really into that. Thank you so
we
much.
really are.
Yeah. Let's actually move on to the next episode, which was about Indian athletes and a series of doping allegations that we had seen. So there were a series of female Indian athletes that were alleged to either have been using banned substances in competitive sports or punished for it. In some cases, they were punished after they had won a medal in the competition, and that led to a lot of drama. So women we covered in this episode were Ashwini Akunji, Mandeep Kaur, Sini Jose, Jonna Murmu, Tiana Mary and Priyanka Panwar. And these were 6 athletes that received a 2-year ban in 2011 for using anabolic steroids. So they appealed the decision. It was reviewed again by the Court of Arbitration for Sport, which upheld the ban. It's a very long process. I would recommend you go listen to that episode if you want to understand that. It took us some time as well to figure out how these punishments sort of work.
We also spoke about Duti Chand. She's India's first professional sprinter from the LGBTQIA+ community. And she's openly come out. She tested positive for high levels of testosterone in 2014, which made her ineligible to compete as a female athlete.
Right.
This is a slightly more complicated case, one that, intersex advocates across the world kind of condemned. She instead fought her case with the Court of Arbitration for Sport and won.
Right.
So removing her from suspension from competition and also kind of paving the way for many, many female athletes to bypass a ridiculous hormone-based eligibility criteria.
Nice.
The last athlete that we covered was Nirmala Shioran. She received a 4-year ban from the Athletes Integrity Unit for the presence of 2 performance-enhancing drugs in her system. And she received this ban in 2019.
That's right. And the thing is, if you Google Ashwini Akunji today, you get our episode.
Once again, thankfully, the SEO works.
Yes. Google, thank you for making this so complicated and yet somehow workable.
Yes. And IVM, thank you for giving us Vagdha. So she has to deal with all of this and not us.
By the way, speaking of Ashwini Akunji, there's a Bangalore-based bank called Corporation Bank. It is pretty, people know about the bank. They made her their brand ambassador. But unfortunately, once the NADA ban happened, they revoked that offer. They had to take down a lot of hoardings and billboards as well. And that's kind of quite sad. And the other thing was the 68th Odisha State Senior and Junior Athletics Championship in 2022.
Mm.
That was inaugurated in April, and Duti Chand and Jonna Murmu both participated. So I guess they still have some connection to sports. And of course, their bans would have been lifted by this point.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I mean, they've served whatever penalties they need to, and hopefully they're able to get back on their feet.
Another update is that apparently Duti and the current reigning champ Hima Das, they ran in the Interstate Athletics Championships in Chennai, but they didn't qualify for the Commonwealth and they missed it by a few seconds. And I know that this is important, like missing the mark by like a few seconds only. But for some reason, PT Usha, after presenting them with the medals, was like a little extra salty about this. Since like none of the athletes qualified for the Commonwealth Games, apparently she was not impressed with the overall performance. And she said the only difference was that Duti was the leader of the pack earlier and now it is Hima. It means nothing according to me.
What?
I know. I mean, I get it, but come on. These athletes are already unsupported.
Yeah.
Like PT Usha was the reason these girls have a chance, right? Because she was able to like crack that for them.
That's true.
So why would you not use this platform to motivate them? Like how about just saying, Inshallah, boys played well?
Yeah, it's honestly really not that hard. I mean, whatever you think privately about this, public support by someone as famous as PT Usha is extremely important because it encourages like other athletes to give it a shot. And we have a dearth of athletes in this country for many, many reasons, including lack of funding and the refusal to care.
Yeah.
That's the other one. But I mean, it's important for people like her to come out and say, hey, we care. This is important.
Yeah.
We will represent you, you know. So that way I thought it was a little unnecessary.
Yeah.
Even Nirmala Sheoran's ban, by the way, that came into effect in June 2018. So it should actually be lifted this month. But the problem was she just went missing.
Huh.
Yeah. So I'm not sure what just happened because we've not been able to track her post that.
Yeah, she's really just living up to that relay athlete name, running from authority as well.
So, Parveen, do you guys remember in this episode, one of my fellow producer and misconductor, Anthony, helped us pronounce, the chemical name that you guys were like kind of stuck on and...
Oh, that's
it's pretty hard.
He has a background in chemistry as well. And we were so like, wow, how did you know? He's like, this is all I did for 4 years of my life.
That was hilarious because I was like, we just couldn't pronounce it and we just kept fumbling all over it. And suddenly Anthony just stepped in like, hey guys, this is how you pronounce this drug. And we were like, Anthony, what are you not telling us?
Yes, well, those were some of our lighter and fun episodes. Let's move on to something dark and disturbing. The next episode was Renuka Shinde, Seema Gavit and Anjana Bai Gavit. Between the years of 1990 and 1996, these three women kidnapped about 45 children and used them to commit robberies across the state of Pune, Nashik and Kolhapur, all in the Indian state of Maharashtra. After they used their children for their crimes, they killed them in cold blood. In November 1996, the three women were arrested by the police for allegedly kidnapping a child. In 2001, they were convicted for the kidnapping of 13 children and the murder of 5. And they were sentenced to spend the rest of their lives in prison.
So the victims were aged between 9 months and 9 years old. In 2006, Supreme Court of India upheld their death penalty. Such was the nature of their crime, the targeting of innocent children, that they were just not afforded any mercy whatsoever. And in 2014, the President of India rejected their mercy petition.
So far, I remember, guys, most of the episodes were fun. They were not as hard as this episode was. This episode particularly came as a shocker and another nightmare. I quite remember. I also remember how bummed you guys were by the end of the episode, I remember Ragvi literally like holding her head.
Yeah, that's true. It was quite a sad... Luckily, we were in the same house, so we were able to just like, I don't know, order some hot chocolate or something and like get over it.
That's true.
But
it was quite rough. I remember just like, the thing is there was this entire section where, okay, so to be little broader about this, I obviously read most of the court cases, like the orders and stuff, right? So reading that was obviously not fun at all because they go into quite a bit of description overall about how a lot of these crimes happen, especially to children. And then I had to put together the condensed that and put it in the script. And I remember Nisha going like, how did you read this?
I was
like,
idea.
I don't know. I just numb myself. I'll probably speak to my therapist about this.
We hated this episode. It was depressing as hell.
Yeah.
But we did have Pooja Marwaha, the CEO of Child Rights and You, come in as a guest at the end of the episode. So CRY is a Indian non-profit organization that's aimed at securing a better life for children from underprivileged communities across the country.
Yep.
So Pooja spoke about missing children in India and what can we do if we suspect that a child has been kidnapped or abducted. And it just sort of felt like a small light at the end of a very dark, dark tunnel.
That's right. And the thing is, the update to this episode that we have is incredibly frustrating. According to the Bombay High Court, these women, their death sentence will be commuted to life imprisonment because unfortunately the state delayed in doling out the penalty for a period of 7 years, 10 months and 15 days. All because of bureaucracy. They just did not execute these women even though they were on death row. And of course, their death sentence was not given any sort of mercy ruling by the president. In 2006, the Supreme Court of India upheld their death penalty. But after that SC ruling, like I said, they filed that mercy petition in 2008 and again in 2009. And the president rejected it in 2014. And then they approached the Bombay High Court saying, listen, this has taken way too long. It's an inordinate amount of time and there's a ridiculous unexplained delay. And the thing is, that is enshrined in Indian law. They cannot have that constant, consistent delay because it's just against human rights.
Yeah, they contended that the president took more than 5 years to reject their mercy petitions and such pleas should have been disposed within 3 months.
Yep.
So through that time, they contended that they lived in constant fear of death, which caused mental torture, emotional and physical agony to them. We are putting up a lot of the sources of where we're getting this information on our blog. There's this amazing article in India Today about the laxity of, how the Maharashtra government at this point, which saved these two sisters from the noose. It's a great article. You should read it. And it's just, it's frustrating for me. Like, I think Raghavi and I have constantly talked about how we feel about the death penalty. This was one of those cases where I was so sure that it's going to happen and it should have happened.
Yeah.
But it didn't. And it's kind of disappointing for me. So.
Yeah. And also, you know what? Let's take a break.
We can take a break and process this and then come back to some more fun stuff because we have Kangana on the other end.
That's right. See you guys in a minute.
Hello everyone. It's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On Think Fast, Suchita and Amit Doshi discuss India's creator economy and the Zomato Blinkit merger. On Cyrus Says Ish, Cock and Bull, Cyrus, Ayushi, Shriram, Antariksh and Abbas discuss the arrest of journalist Mohammad Zubair. On All Things Policy, the Takshashila folk decode Bihar's unemployment crisis. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh analyze what makes social media powerful. And on Marathi Khidkitun, the Deshmukhs list poems and songs inspired by Twilight. We've got some exciting news for you. IVM Podcasts has just launched its merch. And our first line is out now. Head to the IVM Podcasts website and click on the Shop tab to check out our first collection of t-shirts. Do follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, do tell a friend. Also, don't forget to rate us on any platforms that you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and advertising on the network. We would really appreciate if you could spare a few minutes to fill it. It helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Capgemini, Intel vPro, and Intel. Future Banao Wonderful with Intel-powered laptops.
So welcome back from the break. Before the break, we were talking about something super depressing. And now we're talking about Kangana Ranaut. So make of that what you will. Kangana, we spoke about a complaint that was filed against her in Mumbai, Maharashtra for allegedly making defamatory statements against Javed Akhtar, who is also part of the Bollywood film industry.
Yep.
So in July 2020, when the death of Sushant Singh Rajput became a media circus, Kangana, who turned up on national TV, announced that his death was largely caused by friction between him and these particular established Bollywood producers and screenwriters.
Right.
In particular, Kangana's allegations focused on the filmmakers Karan Johar and Mahesh Bhatt along with Javed Akhtar.
Yeah, Kangana also made additional allegations that the industry had blacklisted her for speaking against nepotism, where, to define that, it's just kids where already established celebrities just push their kids out, to offer or get roles that actors could only really dream of. Also in 2016, a fellow actor and her former co-star Hrithik Roshan had filed a lawsuit against Kangana for cyber stalking and harassment. Kangana had filed a counter-suit stating that she and Hrithik were actually in a relationship prior to the suit, and he merely filed it to draw attention away from his divorce proceedings. I know, it is a lot. So Kangana also alleged in the middle of all of this that Javed Akhtar had called her to his home and threatened her to leave Hrithik's family alone.
So on 3rd November 2020, Javed Akhtar filed a criminal complaint before a court in Andheri, Mumbai, alleging that Kangana's statements during the interview with Arnab Goswami were defamatory. However, Kangana did a bamboozle.
Of course.
And in March 2021, she countered Javed Akhtar's claim by stating that Javed Akhtar was involved in extortion and criminal intimidation and had insulted her modesty.
Right.
After that, she just made multiple attempts to transfer the case because apparently she had no faith in the court. To which the court said, and I would also like to say to her, shut up.
I mean, to clarify, when Nisha says shut up, she means the court was like, we're not transferring anything. You shut up and you stay here. We will tell you if you are correct.
Yes, correct. That's exactly what happened.
So guys, I said I know I like YouTube comments, but sometimes you also get some weird hate. So
Of
Karan
course.
Singh
Oh,
says, what was even the point of this?
Okay, Karan, we're not sure if you're talking about the episode or Kangana herself.
Yeah.
However, we would like to remind you that any engagement is good engagement because the algorithms don't understand the difference between love and hate.
Nope, they don't.
So even if you hate us and if you have terrible words for us, please put it out on the internet.
If you think your friends will not like us, tell them and tell them to be vocal about how much they don't like us. We would really enjoy that. Do you hate just women in general? Tell that also on our YouTube videos. We would appreciate that.
Exactly. Yeah, remember Rebecca Black or how much we all sat and bullied Justin Bieber as a child.
Yeah.
Even though his puberty voice hadn't even come in.
Yeah.
Look at them now. Yes.
On March 22nd of this year, Magistrate R.R. Khan of the 10th Metropolitan Magistrate Court in Mumbai had rejected Kangana's application in which she was requesting a permanent exemption from attending court proceedings. I don't really know why. Apparently, they were all supposed to take this to court in April sometime, but that was the day that Javed Akhtar had returned from learning that the hearing had been cancelled and the magistrate was on leave.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of weird red tape around this whole situation that we're not able to really give you many more of an update other than that. However, there is something that Nisha and I discussed in general that we couldn't really put in that episode. But the thing about Kangana is, I at least personally, I being Raghavi, personally believe that freedom of speech is kind of an absolute necessity. And the thing is, I believe that there should be social and personal consequences of your speech. Of course, if you say things that do not really vibe with what the general idea of certain, things that are acceptable in society are, yes, you would get penalized for it by the society that you're in. But the law should not bar you from saying things specifically. In fact, I feel there are defamation laws and multiple other laws, including, those on sedition and stuff like that, are extremely restricting that way, primarily because I am a freedom of speech absolutionist.
So I believe that there should be a degree of freedom of spech. Sure.
Right.
Yes, we should have all that. But you can't just have social and personal consequences, especially considering sometimes how much your sphere of influence as a person. Take for a very general example, right? Donald Trump telling people that you should put bleach in your veins.
Yeah.
Under your ideas of having freedom of speech and it should be only social and personal consequences. The social and personal consequences of that is people dying by the crores because they're
Fair.
putting bleach in their veins. So I think that there should be some level of law, as part of this. They should, at least people who have a significant sphere of influence, their content should definitely be monitored and they should face proper action. It shouldn't just be a slap on the wrist. It should be you are banned from talking, stitch that person's mouth down, or whatever it is, there has to be some case, there has to be some consequence which should scare you. It shouldn't just be a societal thing. Like even J.K. Rowling, she says things like trans women are not women, and she's like, what, societal, what are you gonna do? Like not watch Harry Potter? We'll see that. right? Like not buy the books. I know a lot of people who are so conflicted about it. Like they're like, oh my God, I don't agree with this, but I want to read Harry Potter because it made my childhood.
I mean, I'm one of those people, but also I don't really want to watch any of the...
okay, no, we're not talking Fantastic Beasts. I don't know what the hell happened there.
But no, I agree with what Nisha says, but I think there's something that we're sort of forgetting here, which is the fact that a lot of our, defamation and also, our freedom of speech related legislation, or, also the constitution, were all made at a time when a lot of this was written and oral sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Nobody anticipated this explosion that was the internet, which not only gave everybody the ability to say whatever they could on any series of platforms, but also shrouded a lot of them under anonymity.
Yeah.
So we haven't considered a lot of those sorts of things, but that is a large part of why we're having a lot of these debates today. Kangana in particular went on Twitter to just go nuts, and of course she was barred from Twitter for that. But now she does it on Instagram. So, there is a lot to be said about how social media influences a lot of these things. I don't have any answers to this.
I know.
But I get what Nisha is saying. I understand that aspect because your sphere of influence increases, especially on social media.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do feel like, it's very easy for us to say there should be a law, there should be this thing. But like, what? How? Define it. Like, what is inciting violence? Like, I know you gave me this example, Raghavi. Like, if you just say like, hey, these are certain things that we don't agree with, you should go protest peacefully, and then someone like throws a Arwal there or whatever, and so now are you the person who incited that violence?
Right. Yeah.
Who knows? Right?
I get that. It's difficult. It's all case to case. You cannot have a broad sweeping analysis of these sorts of things, and many of them are fundamental rights, including your right to protest, which happens to be a fundamental right. Of course, as long as you get a permit from your local police. I don't know how that works, but I get it. Like, this debate is a lot broader than that. I still personally believe the things Kangana says, she is permitted to say under law, unfortunately. Wow. I know, she is actually permitted to say that stuff, and the only thing barring her is defamation laws.
Do you believe that it's okay for her to make those ridiculous
It's not about
statements?
I'm not saying it as a moral argument. I'm saying it purely as a legal thing. That if we establish some sort of, precedent that we decide morally what's okay to say and not say, then we bar a lot of people from being able to say anything.
So everyone should be allowed to say whatever they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, fine. All right. Well, let's move on because this debate is going to go on forever and we don't have that much time. So let's move on to the next episode, which is Unni Archa. This is something that's kind of, we really enjoyed doing this because it's like deviation from, our regular women who are thieves and murderers.
That's true, yes.
So Unni Archa is a famed warrior heroine from the old ballads of Kerala called Vadakkan Pattakal. She is revered for her bravery, her beauty, independence, her insane Kalaripayattu skills, which is a Malabar martial art form that is practiced extensively even today.
Yes.
Her undying loyalty to her clan and her horrific revenge against the man who killed her brother is the reason why we featured her.
That's right. So this man, Chandu, he was actually truly in love with Archa. So when she got married to someone else, he was mad about it. And at some point, Archa's brother was challenged to a Kalari duel, which he accepted with Chandu as his second. Now, everything here is extremely sus. Because when her brother was like, we can buy the duel, Chandu, who's supposed to be his second, just stabbed him. Why? Because he didn't force Archa, his sister, to marry Chandu, I guess. Who knows?
But anyway, a pissed and a pregnant Archa just vows revenge and she trains her son to murder Chandu.
Yep.
Which he does. And then Archa also sticks Chandu's head on a pike as a warning outside her house. She's so English of her. And then she just goes away silently to pass away at a temple.
Yeah.
Also, her son, ironically, falls in love with Chandu's daughter.
Yes, that's true.
So what did we miss out of this? There is a new book by Sanjeevan Mokiri, and he's done this book for children. It's based on the heroines of Vadakkan Pattakal.
Yep.
So it's an anthology of about 33 stories from the ballads, and it's titled Vadakkan Pattu Kadakal. So the illustrations of this story has been done in the Kerala mural painting. So we're excited about that.
So one thing I remember from this episode was finding the right image for illustration. I know, like, it was big time struggle. There was a lot of back and forth. But good that we have a new illustration for her now. And also, I feel like when I was doing this, search for image, I felt like, such historical women should get some attention and the art that they deserve. But I'm sure you guys will cover all of them at some point.
By cover, you mean rant about.
Yeah.
Maybe.
So, artists of the world, please draw all of these women so that Vagdha does not have to struggle looking for a picture.
Man. So actually, this reminds me. So one of our friends, Vivek, he runs...
Also a misconductor.
Also a misconduct, that's true. Vivek runs Varnasena Studios. A lot of you already would know because he's particularly famous on social media. You know what? We should pitch him to probably do a series on historical women.
Yeah, that's true.
That would be insane. I would watch the hell out of it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Vivek, Varnasena Studios, if you're listening, you know what to do.
All right, so let's move on to, was this the last episode of our season?
Yes, it was.
And an episode that did surprisingly well. So this was about the former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. So on 12th June 1975, 4 years after the 1971 Indian general elections, the incumbent Prime Minister Indira Gandhi was found guilty by the Allahabad High Court of electoral malpractices. Now the complaint against her was filed by Raj Narayan, her opposing candidate in the constituency of Raebareli, a constituency that is still continues to be a Congress stronghold. Now the court convicted her of election fraud, stripped her of her parliamentary seat, unseated her as Prime Minister and barred her from holding office for another 6 years. In fact, this was a really big deal. Newspapers at the time had front pages that just straight up said Indira Gandhi no longer an MP and by extension Prime Minister. So how did Mrs. Gandhi respond to this? She locked down the entire country under an emergency for 2 years.
Mrs. Gandhi also followed this up by passing the 39th Amendment to the Constitution, which barred any court in India from challenging the election of any person to Lok Sabha holding the office of Prime Minister. This amendment was struck down later by the Supreme Court for trying to amend the basic structure of the Constitution. So Mrs. Gandhi was basically told a resounding no at least twice by the Indian courts.
Right.
And she actually had this declared on June 25th, about, 47 years back?
Yeah.
So it's for all of her actual achievements, this is the only thing that keeps coming back every single year.
Yeah, that's really awful because, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we can commend Indira Gandhi for. Obviously, the first female Prime Minister of the country. The first female head of the country, something that even the most European states and, even North America have not been able to achieve so far.
Till date,
Till date, literally till today they haven't achieved it. Sorry, Hillary. But really on that, it's something that is genuinely commendable. We managed to do that in the freaking 60s.
Yeah.
That's a big deal for us, right?
It is.
It also doesn't take away from the fact that Indira Gandhi is a very well-read woman. She, of course, she comes from a background of a lot of, political turmoil as well. From, she grew up through the entire freedom struggle. She was also known to be, quite introverted, sort of shy woman that sort of had to break out of this just to be able to hold a position of power. So nothing to take that away from her. But yeah, this is something that consistently comes back. Anytime Indira Gandhi is mentioned, she's always mentioned only as a controversial leader. The other thing is, to add insult to injury to this, there is going to be a movie called Emergency.
Oh.
Which is directed by and is produced by your friend and my BFF as well, Kangana Ranaut.
Oh my God, how does she keep coming back to us?
I don't know. But this is your legacy, Mrs. Gandhi. Our sincere apologies. Also, a quick shout out. We had a guest on this episode, Priya Mirza of the Longest Constitution podcast. That was really, really fun hanging out with her because she also told us multiple times where, how we could structure a lot of what we were saying because we are not constitutional law experts. And she was like, this is what the amendment said. This is how it was treated, in the parliament. This is how the courts treated it. And we were just like, whoa. Even as a lawyer, I didn't have enough context to this stuff. So, shout out to Priya. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode. We had a great time hanging with you as well.
And that brings us to the end of the episode. But before we move on to the fun part, just Vagdha, how do you like being the producer of misconduct? And, how do you deal with our extreme need for perfection and being freaking OCD all the time?
Honestly, it's not that hard because I think I function similarly to the way you guys function. So, so maybe I should ask you guys if if I'm able to deliver what you guys are expecting, or like if I'm meeting your expectations. But honestly,
There's
it's
nothing
fun.
to deliver. This podcast exists because of you.
I will say one thing though. Like when we hear Vagdha talk and take charge of things, we always thought that she was our age. It turns out she's like an entire generation below us. And we were so surprised. But thank you, Vagdha, for being so mature and so amazing and dealing with our stuff. And then also making sure we stay on track.
Yeah, we really have a tendency to just be like, what about this? What about that? And Vagdha usually is just like, listen, we need to stop recording in 20 minutes, so wrap it up. So that's very helpful. She really gets us our heads together. So thank you.
Oh, guys, this is too much compliment right now to take.
Yeah, I remember at the beginning of the episode when Raghavi said you have to stay with us forever. That's why we're doing this.
Yes. It's Stockholm Syndrome is what it is. But no, seriously, Vagdha, thanks for being not just on this episode, but really just all the way through. I think a lot of our work in season 2 is just really because you've been able to sort of bring us together to do it. So thank you so much.
No problem, guys. So let me just get to the next segment now. Come on.
So this time, instead of doing our usual song that I do, we have something fun. We just celebrated our first year anniversary. And on that, we did a fun Insta contest where a bunch of people participated. And 3 of those winners are now going to be featured on this particular episode. So let's start with the first person. That is Varsha. Congratulations, first of all.
Thank you so much. I was really excited. Never thought of it. Thank you so much.
That's awesome. Thank you.
So, Varsha, let's start with the basics. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Sure. So, hi everyone. Hi Nisha and Raghavi. I'm Varsha. I'm from all the way from Odisha. And back to the true crime, I don't know. I can't tell you. It's like when, when a child will have asked something and when you give it and the happiness and you can see the joy they get. I get the same thing when I listen or seeing things. It's like related to anything related to paranormal activities and anything related to ghosts and anything related to true crime. That really, instinct me, Varsha, I need to listen or I need to watch this. I never thought of that women would really do crime. Go. They do. They do.
We're the same as everyone else.
Yes, correct. And it happens like I was scrolling through all this, reels in the Instagram, though it's very boring. And I came across when I can't name that particular IS officer who is, she sold all the
Madhuri Gupta.
Yes, right.
Yep.
And that reel was, oh my God, this is real. I guess in 2 days I have completed entire episode of podcast.
Whoa.
The first episode was my favorite. That's Cyanide Mallika.
Nice.
Just 1 month before, I have completed another Cyanide episode. It is there in Spotify. I have something.
Jolly
Dosa
Joseph?
Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that after that, when I listen to Cyanide Mallika, it's just a cherry on the.
Wow.
Nice. The cherry on the nice cyanide cupcake. Jolly Joseph is definitely on our radar and we will cover it at some point of time. We just wanted to make sure there's enough distance between Cyanide Mallika and another cyanide episode, but we will cover it.
That will be great. And Kannagi will be my next. And always Nisa's song, that entire, the song performance of the entire episode. It's and the music specifically, that background score, that whenever I see any crime, so it's come like, oh my God, okay, this is the scenario. Then Nisha will be saying like this and Raghavi will go to say like this. Background score is something like this. So
Shout out to our sound engineer, Chetan, for dealing with with all of our editing and then like also doing all of this background scoring for us. So
That's
great.
Yes,
That's awesome.
yes, specifically when Nisha or Agvi, you both of this, when you just want to, put at the pinpoint that this might be the reason that, or this is the reason that they have committed this crime or these have triggered that particular time. That background score is really, that's make a click. Yes, now
Nice.
now it's
Awesome.
making the point.
Kudos to Chetan.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
for him. Great. Thanks so much, Varsha. This is lovely. Thank you so much for joining us and for your very, very kind words.
Yes.
It's extremely sweet. And thank you so much for listening.
So let's go on to our next winner, who is Shweta. We are particularly Shweta is an important listener for us because she was one of those people who wrote into us while she was not in a great place. She was in a hospital and she just met with an accident and she's texting us saying, hey, I'm listening in the hospital. Does that count? And we're like, what is going on? Shweta, can you please recover first? True crime can wait. So, Shweta, we're very happy to have you on this episode. Hi.
Hello,
and welcome to Misconduct. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. I am a Miss Chandu. I don't know if it's still an official name.
No, we have changed it now. In fact, we just announced it at the beginning of the episode. We are now misconductors.
No, I like Miss Chandu. It has Sorry, Nisha. Yeah, very unique name. So I would rather go by Miss Chandu right now.
Fine. Your body, your choice.
I am from Bangalore. I am not a typical Bangalorean. I am a techie. I cross silk board every day. Matte Kannada barutte, which means I can speak Kannada.
Nice.
Absolutely not a typical Bangalorean.
Not at all. We've never seen someone like you before.
ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ Kannada barutte.
I am bound by the law, right, Raghavi, to say that my views are my own and not influenced by friends and family. And I did not bribe these two ladies, girls, to be here.
No bribery was taken.
Not at all.
Yeah, nobody check my UPI right now.
Yeah.
So, let's do the usual rigmarole. Why do you like true crime?
Hey, do I like true crime now? Yes, absolutely. Did I like it earlier? No. How did I get introduced to this? I was just listening to another podcast on the same network, and they kind of advertised for, hey, there's a new podcast that's coming up with these two people, and it's called Misconduct. And then I went and searched for Misconduct. I'm like, let's check it out. Women. So let's see what's happening. And said, women are not thieves and murderers. Okay, now that's interesting. Thieves and murderers, rather. That's interesting. And then I started listening to it, and somehow I could relate too much to the two of you.
Oh, no.
And I listened to it every Saturday while cutting. At one point of time, I was listening to Shabnam episode, and I'm chopping vegetables. So you can imagine.
Oh no!
Right, how it was, and that's when I realized it's too much into true crime, right?
Shweta, that reminds me, my mom, every time she cuts apples now, she messages me and says, I'm cutting apples, just like Saina and Malika. I'm just like, Amma, this is really stressful. We can't have these messages between us.
Oh man, but yeah, that's really cool. So we are the only true crime podcast you listen to?
Yes, absolutely. The only one that I want to listen to as well, because you make it fun. Sonu Panjaban is probably the only one I haven't had the thing to listen to yet.
Take your time. Yeah.
I will get there soon.
Yeah.
I've had none of these people are some of them are famous, some of them I've never heard of before. But the way you present it and the way you bring in different points of view, it's just absolutely entertaining. And the amount of fun you both have, I'm always smiling. You might be talking about, hey, somebody killed somebody, and I'm smiling here and listening because of how you have been presenting it. Yes. So somebody actually overhears what I'm listening and how I'm smiling. Definitely not a good picture for me.
So just one other question is, do you have any favorite episodes?
Do I have one favorite episode? Very difficult to choose only one. there are many, many, many. I have a list of episodes, but I'm going to talk about the one that probably is the most relatable in multiple ways, and I've put up in the contest as well, right? The one, the 2-part episode on Jayalalitha and Sasikala, two best friends, just like Nisha and Raghavi, who stick with each other through thick and thin, and also being from Chennai, originally from Chennai.
Okay.
I've grown up hearing a lot about Jayalalitha, Selvi Jayalalitha, as she's known as, about her being a chief minister and going through struggles to even get there. That got me very, very, very interested in knowing about her. And then, like, oops, all the photos of the assets that she had. That's like, oops, she did this. But does it take away from what she's done? Probably not. So I still kind of side with her. And did I watch Talaivi purely because it was based on Jayalalitha? Yes, I did. And the other ones that kind of got me very, very keen to listen to details were the Maria Susairaj one.
Nice.
And one more on the Uniarcha, because it was a very different episode from the other episodes. A different personality, background, and everything else about that episode was very, very unique. The one episode that I wasn't expecting it to be covered, I mean, this crime of hers to be covered, was the Indrani Mukherjee episode.
We've gotten that before.
Another one. And of course, Zoya Khan. I wish people had that kind of confidence.
I swear. All right. Thank you so much, Shweta, for your time. And thank you for being such an ardent Miss Kondu. I will go with what you identify with. And thank you for being on this episode.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you. I've had fun listening. But this was way more fun.
Oh, super.
Thank you.
Right.
And we have one last winner, which is Matthew. Hi, Matthew.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, it's nice to see you. For those who don't know, we're actually doing this on Zoom, so we can see everybody. That's pretty awesome. Really nice to put faces to, all those comments that we get on Instagram and stuff. It's really, really lovely. Matthew, would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yeah. So, like Nisha said, like Raghavi said, my name is Matthew. I'm in advertising, so I'm probably behind some of the ads that you skip quite often on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, so also I am a filmmaker. I'm into video production. I've been parlaying that into advertising as well.
Nice. I have YouTube Premium, so I don't have ads. Sorry, Matthew.
Brilliant. We'll catch you on Spotify. Don't worry.
Damn.
Oh no, I also have Spotify Premium.
Oh, and I listen on Google Podcasts. So
yeah, but me and my brother, we have every subscription just to avoid ads. So my apologies to you.
Instagram ads. Catch us on Instagram. We spend way too much time on Reels.
Oh no. Targeted advertising is my favorite thing in the world, though.
That is true.
Yeah. Everything I own, I purchase because of targeted advertising.
Nice.
But that's nice. Matthew, where are you based out of?
So I'm actually Malayali, but I'm a third generation Bangalorean. I understand Kannada very well. Can't speak it. So incoming, but no outgoing.
That's cool. I actually feel that way too. I can't believe of all the 3 winners that we picked, they're all Bangaloreans. How did that happen? But that's awesome. Matthew, why do you like true crime?
Well, so I'm an only child. I had a lot of time and free access to the internet. So I used to go on like these sites like Listverse and Stumble Upon. So that's pretty unfiltered. And I was like maybe 13, 14. And I was just going and reading about like Jeffrey Dahmer, the Zodiac, and a bunch of other killers. And like, wow, that shit happens in life.
And that shaped your personality today, which I totally get. The internet was also my best friend when I grew up. So I understand.
I mean, I hope it didn't shape my personality, but just my like knowledge.
Whoops, I projected there. My apologies.
But wow, why don't these sites have like an age this thing?
They do now. I mean,
This
must have been like easily like 5 to 8 years ago, right? I would presume. Longer?
Longer, I think 12.
Maybe let's not expose his age.
Sorry, my apologies. You can expose mine. It was around 15 years ago.
But yeah, that's, I mean, yes, I can't believe Stumble Upon will give you those. Also, Stumble Upon is a name that I haven't heard in so
ages.
long.
That's true. It's as old as MySpace in my head.
Oh, yeah. I can't believe that's how we used to discover things. Just like
MySpace would have been a great platform to figure out how to commit crimes, because I would very happily throw out my personal information there. Just like, yeah, guys, I love Avril Lavigne. This is my home address. Like, that's how I would behave. So, I don't know. Like, I am surprised nobody murdered me back during the MySpace days.
Oh, man. I had no idea where that statement was going, but I did not expect that. So Matthew, what is your favorite misconduct episode so far?
I mean, I think it's going to be this one, but I don't know. I don't have a favorite. I'd say, like, I was just looking at the list again, and I think the Meow one, the MCAT episode, Sasikala.
Yes, Sasikala, baby Patankar.
That's also our favorite.
Yeah.
We'll be very honest about that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those few episodes where we felt like this podcast is real. Like, whoa, we're doing this.
And on multiple levels. One was that, we're finally like at the right place with our podcast. And the second thing is the case itself, right?
Yeah.
The whole fact that, I mean, there is no crime, like, because she's never been caught, right?
That's
true.
exactly.
And so, and the fact, and the whole like 120 kgs of Ajinomoto, like, where did you get it from? Like, which manufacturer is giving you 120 kgs of Ajinomoto?
Did you end up reading up more about her after the episode? Like, were you curious about her?
I mean, in certain ways, there were certain things that I wanted to find out about. I mean, I can't remember. It's been a while since I listened to the episode. But I mean, there are things that I definitely can't talk about on the podcast right now. But I did do a little bit of research after that.
We'll catch you offline for other discussions.
You know what's surprising? There were people who wrote to me, or to us actually on that was when we still had our personal Instagram accounts. So they wrote to us essentially saying, hey, why don't you talk more about the legalization process of like drugs in India and stuff? And I was like, that's not what the case is about at all.
Thank you so much, Matthew, for being a part of this episode. And thank you for engaging with us on Instagram and also bribing your friends to follow us. We really appreciate it. Thank you so
sweet.
much.
Thank you. And that was the end of our episode. There was a lot to look back.
It was
on season 2, and it was just so nice hearing from all the winners, man. Like, I didn't expect to melt into a little puddle.
Same. I feel so warm and soft and so happy.
I feel so vulnerable right now.
I also feel like we have this big divide on miscondus and misconductors.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy to see that Raghavi's fans are miscondus and Nisha's fans are misconductors.
And I'm okay with that. I mean, it's fine. All of the best bands in the world eventually broke up, including the Beatles. And if this specific thing is going to be our Yoko Ono, I'm okay with that. But on that note, guys, if you did like not just this episode, but just any of our other episodes, please review us. That really helps us in particular because it obviously the algorithm pushes us out and everything is about the algorithm nowadays. So please go ahead and review us on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Audible, on YouTube as well. And you can also leave, there are multiple other podcast aggregation websites like Chartable, Podtalk, Podbean. There's loads of those. So if you listen to us in any of those, also please go ahead and review us there.
And you can follow us on Instagram. We are at Misconduct Pod. We have more reels, more true crime content, more pictures of Raghavi's cats.
Indeed.
More dance reels because for some reason that seems to work.
Yeah, it really does. Our dance reels do so well.
I know.
I say our, but I mean Nisha's.
Yeah. It's fine. I'm the only one who caves.
That's true. Also, if you want to listen to any of our other episodes, we are available on the IVM Podcast Network website as well as any other place you get your podcasts from. Please listen to us. Go back and listen to us again. Yeah, it's fine. We have no problem with that. Is it an obsession? Sure, but that's not on us.
And do we appreciate it?
Yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, and then we will see you on the next episode of Misconduct.
there's a quick survey to fill out on ivmpodcast.com/survey. It lets us know a little bit more about who's listening to us. And you know what? We're going to do a few prizes. So, we'll do a random drawing of maybe 10 people and we'll send you all some swag. Remember, that's ivmpodcast.com/survey where you can fill out the survey.
What is the workplace and how does your gender and body affect your right at work? Hey, I'm Priya Mirza, and on the Longest Constitution podcast, we critically examine the vision of the Indian Constitution and laws. In season 1, we looked at sex, gender, sexuality in India, and the landmark judgments which transformed our rights as citizens in this country. In season 2, we discussed the laws which shape the workplace and examine how ability, competence, and merit impact us, and much more. Join me, Priya Mirza, every Wednesday only on the IVM Podcast app, website, and all the major podcast streaming platforms.